Conspiracies about the U.S. government have been around since the beginning of time. Area 51 is a military base located in Hico, Nevada, about 83 miles away from Las Vegas. There have been sightings of flying saucers or UFOs above Area 51 many times. In 1945, President Eisenhower had orders to start a construction of a military base. That was a very remote place and had a high altitude for spacecrafts to fly. This base was built to test the U-2 aircraft, which was a high altitude aircraft back in the 1950s that could fly higher than most aircrafts, because back then lots of aircrafts were shot down in the USSR for doing recon, so they needed an aircraft that would fly higher than most military aircrafts. The theory took off at Area 51 when an interview came out with Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar used to work at Area 51, or more specifically Area S4. It's about 13 miles away from Area 51. Before he worked at Area 51, he was a nuclear weapons development. He worked at Los Alamos labs in New Mexico. After he worked there, he put out a resume for working with like nuclear stuff or whatever he wanted to work with, and Area 51 contacted him because he put a jet engine in his Honda Civic and would like drive it to work, so he was all over the news for that. So they contacted him about a job, and he took the job, but he had no idea what he would be working on or like where he would be working. But he had 4 days of security clearances to get the job, and on one of his first days at work, he went into work and there was a big bay door open, and he said he saw 9 flying saucers in there. His job at Area 51 was to back engineer the reactor technology of one of the UFOs that they had there. He said that the reactor was about the size of a basketball. It produced a gravitational pull and it had lots of power in it. It didn't need anything else to power it. They said they never told him where the UFOs came from or like how they got them. All his job was to figure out how the reactor works and try to reproduce the technology. The person that he said that he was like replacing had died. That was like the rumor there. He started to get very concerned about the idea of working there because they had no idea what they were working with, and they had no idea like the technology because they'd never seen it before because it wasn't from Earth. So like I said, they had no idea where the saucer came from or like how they got him. All he knew was from the Zeta Reticuli star system, and more specifically from ZR3, which is the 3rd planet in the star system. When this interview first came out, like public, it was like about a couple years after the interview happened because he didn't want it to go public yet. And they said that the saucers were fueled by element 113, and back then when the interview came out, no one had any idea what element 113 was. So he had clearance to go inside one of the flying saucers one time. He said it was very unorganized. He said it was made for like 3 feet, about people that were about 3 feet tall. And the reactor was set on the center level of the spacecraft. He said that there were test flights done with the UFO, and he actually brought friends to those flights. He can't say those names because he didn't want to get anyone else in trouble. The UFO was said to fly with no wings, and it would fly belly first, like a Tic Tac. And U.S. Naval Commander David Frawner said that he saw a Tic Tac shaped aircraft hovering like above the Pacific Ocean. So George Knapp was a reporter who interviewed Bob Lazar, and after the interview, a lot of like weird things started to happen. This is after he quit Area 51. People called Los Alamos to see if he actually worked at Los Alamos, and they said that they had no record of him working there. But when they like found a really old phone book from Los Alamos, it said his name was in there, and he was also on the front page of the Los Alamos like journal. So it was like they were trying to like make him disappear. And his records from Caltech and MIT were also all gone. And he said it was like he had never went to college. He said he has many classmates that like went to school with him, but he wouldn't say any of the names due to secrecy reasons because he didn't want them to get in trouble, just like he was getting in trouble. So yeah, conspiracy theories have been around forever, and it's like up to you if you guys want to believe them. I mean, I personally believe in Area 51, especially after this interview, because this guy has done multiple interviews with, like, I don't know if you guys know who Joe Rogan is, but he does a lot of podcasts, and he lays it all out for everyone. I mean, there's no reason for him to lie, but that's why I believe in Area 51. Any questions?
All right. Questions for Stephen?
Would you ever go there? The Area 51? I mean, if I could get in, yeah. That'd be sick.
So what makes you believe this conspiracy theory?
Well, I believe it because I've seen many interviews with this one guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
goes into very, very like deep detail about like, what he did, and I mean, there's no reason for him to lie. And it's also weird how all his like records disappeared at his old job, and like how all his like college records like disappeared after like the interview came out.
So lots of people have conspiracy theories about various things. In general, what do you use to judge personally whether you believe in a conspiracy theory or not?
Usually I would say like more evidence, but like with this particular one, this guy puts in like quite a lot of detail about like what he saw and like what he did. So I mean, I don't think there's like a reason for me not to believe him, but like, I mean, he could be lying about the whole thing, but like, I guess it's just like up to you to believe it or not.
Any other questions?